Hey, Shalom, Shalom, on the staff souls by giving all praise to Yahweh, Shem Yahshua, Shem Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS and honors you brothers doing the work in truth. While sincerity, this is a quick one. It's the three feasts that in ancient Israel that we were required to go back to Jerusalem for. Now I'll bring this bring this out just in case brothers new haven't gone into it, because it is something that the elder brother and one of the elder brothers in our camp says a lot, is we can't we can't let Amalek, who aren't really us, know our history better than we do, right? We've got to it's part of our heritage, right? So this is one of the things we've got to know. In fact, let me just grab a scripture. Right, this is Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, right? Part of that learning is, it goes on to say that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Right? So part of that learning is looking at their history and, being comforted by how the Lord, did certain things. All right. But also, their history is there for us, right? So, and it helps build a better picture of what was what was going on back then. For instance, you got the thing about the Gentiles, right? If you're not familiar with their history, that gets quite difficult, right? You got to pray that Most High will open your eyes so that you can see the mystery of the Gentiles, right? So yeah, we'll go on. Now I've got it here, just so you know what the names are, that these so-called Jews use, just for knowledge purpose. So, for instance, if they were to come up and say Sukkot, you know what they're talking about. So, it's the three feasts that we, as Israelites in the ancient world, had to go back to Jerusalem for. It was the feast of, they call it Pesach, that's, we would say Pesach, which is Passover. Right, it says, and then they have a Shavuot, right, a feast of weeks, Pentecost, and Sukkot, right, the feast of tabernacles, right. So that's just the words that they use, right. So this is Exodus 23:14, right. It says, 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread, right. So this Passover. Right, it says, thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee in the time appointed in the month Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, right, the feast of first fruits, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, right, so that will be the feast of tabernacles, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field, right. And we all should know about Passover, so I won't read into that. Right, it says Leviticus 23:9. It says, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priests, and ye shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath. Right, the priest shall wave it, and ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf an he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto Yahweh. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh for a sweet savour. And the drink offering thereof shall be wine, the 4th part of an hin, and ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the self same day that ye have brought an offering unto your power, and it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Right, so that's just the the law on the feast of first fruits. And obviously there's some things, if you just watch the apostles for updates for when these things come in, and basically how we observe them in this day, You know, so then you've got Leviticus 23:33 says, And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of the 7th month, right, shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh. Right now, this is 5 days after the, which called the, what's the name? Day of Atonement, right, which the so-called Jews, they call that Yom Kippur, right, we call it the Day of Atonement, right, so this is 5 days after that, right, it says, shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. On the first day shall be an holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work. 7 days shall you offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. And once again, this is what I was saying about there's some, things we don't do, because we haven't got, we're not, got things to make an offering with, right, stuff like that. Even with the Passover, right, obviously we observe the fact that we don't eat leavened bread, right, we observe we do, and stuff like that, but for instance, you're supposed to eat a lamb without blemish, but we haven't got our own lamb, our own sheep, so we can't do that, right, and and this is where being spiritual comes into it, right. If I grab this real quick, this is Judges 5:11, right? It says that they that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of Yahweh, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord of Yahweh go down to the gates, right? So this is a rehearsal. These, we're rehearsing the righteous acts, right? Because there's so much that we can't keep perfectly, in this in this day and age, and I mean, for instance, we can't be going down to Jerusalem 3 times a year, right? But it just it is good to just know what your history is. End of the day, we are Hebrew Israelites, right? So where was I? I've already read this one. What's this one? Oh no, I've already read this. That was the first scripture. And then I read that. Yeah. So it says, 7 days shall you offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, verse 36. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord Yahweh, a burnt offering, a meat offering, a sacrifice, drink offerings, everything upon his day. Right, and this is Zechariah 14:6. We're still going to be, observing, observing, these feasts in the kingdom, right? What has, come up. We don't know how, Passover is, how we're gonna do that, because you got this scripture here. It says Jeremiah 16:14. Therefore, behold, days come, saith Yahweh, that it shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel up the land of Egypt, but Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I'll bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So just like how Passover is about, the deliverance from, ancient Egypt, right? We don't know whether, we're going to have a new day to celebrate, the deliverance from, this Egypt, this captivity, because this has been a heavy burden, on the children of Israel, this captivity, right? So, on that, no, we're not 100% how that's going to go down, right? More than, we're probably going to, have a new day, you never know, Lord might, you never know, you don't know. I don't want to speak on things we don't know, right? But this is proof that we're going to be observing in the kingdom of Israel. Zechariah 14:16, it says, And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Right now, going into the breakdown here, that's noted. And if you notice, it basically goes on to the fact that this is proof that the heathens aren't gonna be on any level, right? Because they, as in, the new second covenant isn't open to the heathen, because the second covenant, as written in Hebrews 8:6, right, says the children of Israel are going to keep the law perfectly. But here it's saying we're going to have to make sure that the heathens, come up to the Feast of Tabernacles and keep it, right? Which showing you what? Showing you that they ain't got the second covenant. The second covenant isn't open to them, right? So yeah, that's the the Feast of Tabernacles, and that's going to be observed in the kingdom, right? So yeah, like I said, this was more just like a a history lesson, because this is our heritage, right? Just covered it certain things on how to observe it, observe these in this kingdom, just watch the apostles, right? And during the period of time when these things had come to pass, to be observed rather, I'm sure they'll do videos on what it's what each of them are about, in terms of observing them, right? Because at the end of the day, they are the heads of Israel at this point in time, and there's no point in me saying do X, Y, Z, and the apostles saying that sort of stuff as best from from the top. So as always, hope this was edifying. Until the next time, Shalom.